This is Between the Lines. I'm Tatum. This is Ben, and it's presented by Continental Diamond. Ben, the Vikings fall to the Lions today. However, they were in it. It was a one-score game down the stretch. They lose 30-24. Nick Mullins with a chance to lead them on a game-sealing drive. Instead, it results in his fourth interception of the game. What did you see there on the final game-sealing play?
Well, he was getting pressured just a little bit. He had to step up in the pocket, kind of extend some time there. But, kind of what we saw, the whole game, a little bit underthrown, not a ton of zip on it. It looked like JJ was wide open. And, again, the timing, because it marries up with the pressure, just didn't allow him to really set his feet and fire it in there. He had a couple plays like that where some shots down the field, a little bit underthrown. They were able to make some plays on the ball, another interception and one big pass breakup. So obviously a mixed bag with him, 411 yards, a couple touchdowns, but, costly interceptions.
Costly interceptions, which is just something that we've been talking about, I feel like, since week one, where you lose the turnover margin, you tend to lose the game. And that's what happened today with a 4-to-1 ratio there. We've talked about this, I think, in Between the Lines as well, where ball security, it's not something you're teaching at practice every week. You just got to start executing at games. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, I can actually live with two of the interceptions. One was on a fourth down. It was a shot down the field. It basically worked as a punt. I mean, you want it to be successful, but it wasn't. He had another one, I think his third interception of the game. Same situation. His third down, took a shot down the field. Maybe not as far as a punt, but it's like, okay, you're actually changing the field position just a little bit. That's the other thing I think that we have to remember is we are playing with the backup quarterback. He threw for 411 yards. The offense, when it was in sync and in rhythm, he's awfully good. And we look really good offensively, passing the football. But, as a backup quarterback, I think they just need reps. They need that off season of reps. They need the off season of timing. And so it's just not there. And especially with his particular personality, he's a gambler. He's a risk taker. And I think the frustrating part is some of those turnovers and would-be turnovers, because there were a couple that weren't actually turnovers. It's just there's a carelessness about it, and that has to get fixed. And I'm not sure it's going to get fixed with only 2 games left to go in the season. And
it could be supported with a better run game. I know this was not the best day for the Vikings run team. That was 17 yards on the day, which is just, we knew that the Lions front was going to be tough. What made them tough to run against today?
Well, they did a really good job of just filling all the gaps. I mean, I think their linebackers and their safeties do a good job with doing all that. And we tried different ways. We tried to go around the edge. We tried to hit the perimeter. Ty, did a really good job of the week before, like really slicing through the inside part of the defense, and that just wasn't there. And look, they're a really good rush defense. They're 6th in the league when it comes to yards per attempt. So they've been proving it. Year this whole year, week in and week out. So we knew that we were up for a big challenge, but the frustrating thing is we still were in it.
One-score game.
We were there to basically win the game, even though we virtually had no rush offense, and we just relied on throwing the ball down the field.
We heard from a couple of guys that had some pretty good games that we hadn't seen really pop off just yet. Well, one of them being Jordan Hicks, because he had been out with an injury, back from IR his first week back, and he's now calling the defense back again, getting in the saddle. What did you make of the game he called today?
He looked great. I was really impressed with the way that he looked. He flew around. I thought maybe, especially late in the game, you're going to see maybe some conditioning issues with him not being on the field. But I thought he looked great. The defense flowed really well. You could tell that mentally he was on point a lot of times, calling out the adjustment, putting his arms out, making audible calls based on what they were doing offensively with some of their formations. He had, which I believe, a true sack fumble, that they called back, that Cam Bynum runs down and scores a touchdown. He was playing fast. He was playing crisp. So I think it was a big benefit to have him back, not only just from the physical side, but the mental side as well.
And Pat Jones today as well.
Yeah.
What a great game for him. It's nice to see the success that he had with his 6 tackles, 3 for a loss, and a sack in the mix. How was he able to step up, especially in the wake of losing DJ Wanham in this game?
Look, I know that they had a lot of yards on the ground. Again, this was a really good rush offense, but I think our defensive guys up front, as the year has gone on, we have disengaged from the block so much better. we're holding our gap, we're playing where we're supposed to play, but then we're getting off and we're in a run into the football. And that's what Pat Jones did today. That's what Wanham was doing before he got injured. That's what Daniil's been doing really his whole career. He's been always a great run stopper. So all those guys up front, even Harrison Phillips, if he's not getting off the block, he's pushing the line of scrimmage back. He's taking that offensive guard or center and pushing them back and making the running back alter their course. So I know it probably doesn't look like it statistics-wise, but I'm really happy with the way that we defended the run, and Pat Jones had a great game by just doing that, disengaging, being relentless.
Unfortunately for the Vikings, Wanham wasn't the only injury from today's game. Jordan Addison ruled out earlier in this one. TJ Hawkinson also ruled out, as well as, I know I'm missing one, Mekhi Blackman.
Yeah.
And so I know that we were already going into this game with several injuries. What did you see from the offense after they losing someone like an Addison or a Hawkinson in this game?
Well, we right when Hawkinson got hurt, I believe that the next play or 2 plays later, we tried to get Johnny Munt on a big deep over, and so it really looked like, hey, we're not going to miss a beat. If you're the backup in those positions and now you've got to take over that responsibility, we're going to keep our offense going the way it's supposed to go. Same thing for KJ. When Addison goes out, KJ basically moves into his position, has to kind of learn a whole new route combination, all those things that he didn't practice during the course of the week.
Right.
I thought he stepped up and played really well. So, that is the one thing, credit to our coaching staff, on both sides of the ball. Throughout the year with all of the injuries, they get these guys ready. They get them ready for a lot of different situations, to play out of position, to step up. We got basically a practice squad, cornerback that has to come in the game, and outside of one again soft penalty that they had against him, I thought he played really well.
Yeah, there are several players that did play well in this game. There are some bright spots despite what happened. Justin Jefferson being one of them.
Yeah.
I was just really excited to see him back out there and looking like himself again. He scored his first touchdown since week 4 in October. Of course, everyone here.
Well, it's Frank Ragnow. He's a local guy. He's a good dude.
Yes, for sure. I'm sure he's walking out of here pretty happy after this one. But we were talking about Justin Jefferson, and Justin is a guy who really comes up clutch in those moments. And I felt like he had that, especially on that final drive where it was a 3rd and 27 look, and Nick Mullins is able to hit him. What did you think about Justin Jefferson?
Well, I don't even know if using the word special really describes, what it's like to have him on the team. We all know that what he can do as a receiver. We all think, and I believe he's the best receiver in the league. But what he showed on that last drive shows that he's a true football player. And we had that sack fumble. They had a sack fumble. The ball is bouncing around. They had an opportunity to jump on it. They missed. That would have won the game for them. And they would have walked off NFC North champions off of a sack fumble recovery. But that ball slips out. JJ sees what's going on, runs back from his route down the field, and picks up that fumble, which was like, a 7 or 8 yard loss. So that hustle play, and then the very next play, he has a jump ball situation where he goes up with three defenders around him and pulls that ball down for a first down. That's the type of mentality you want from all your players. And for a receiver to go out there and time again just show that he's a football player first and then a receiver, I think from a culture standpoint, that's exactly what you want in all your players.
One of the reasons he was voted captain this year, no doubt. He also became he passed Michael Thomas for most receiving yards in a player's first 4 years in the league. And he was out how many weeks, So he continues to break records here, and we hope that's not the last we see of him this season, because the Vikings do have 2 more huge games, Ben. I mean, New Year's Eve here on Sunday against the Packers, who are now 7-8, as well as the Vikings, is going to be wild here. It's a prime time NBC matchup. What do you expect to see from this team as they try and bounce back from this?
Well, you know what? It's going to be a dogfight. I mean, both these teams obviously know this is a must-win for both of them. So, I hope that, we can hit the ground a little bit more in the run game. We did not see much of Alexander Madison. We thought we'd see a little bit more of him. We knew Ty sort of earned the opportunity to get some more carries, but let's see a little bit more ground and pound with these guys. So that way, if we're going to have Nick Mullins out there and he's going to have his gunslinger, risk it all mentality, maybe we don't have to rely on his arms so much. But I'm really impressed with what we've done passing the football down the field, and I expect JJ to have another huge game.
I love that prediction. I know when I was in the locker room for the post game, it was a very somber room, but I saw a lot of guys and their mentality was, you got to flush this one. We got to get over this. I know that you did one final thing before we go. You spoke to Coach after in your exclusive KFAN interview after the game. What were some of his, first interview right after that thoughts?
Obviously, pretty down. This one hurt, I think, for obvious reasons. And we talked about the injuries, and we talked about it. You and I just talked about it a second ago. But I think those are the things that really make it much worse. When it sounds like some of these guys, they're he didn't specifically say which guys. He didn't say for how long, but the look on his face and just his tone. I think there's gonna be some time missed for some of these guys, maybe one or all. I don't know, but it was a very dejected sort of look and feel. And I think, with those three guys specifically, I know Mackay looked like he already had maybe some sort of injury. He was wearing that shoulder harness. Hopefully he can come back next week. But, we got three big-time players, which with, maybe some significant injuries.
I know. And so Coach O'Connell will have to do what he does best and rally the team around one another as the Vikings look to host their final division game, final home game here of the regular season next Sunday, New Year's Eve against the Packers on NBC for some Sunday night football. For Ben, I'm Tatum. Thank you for watching Between the Lines, presented by Continental Diamond.